because I was building this startup for already a year and a half, and now I wasted a lot of time. So now I'm going to talk about the things that you shouldn't waste time on. And the first one is because in the world there are all these pre-seed funds that you can basically come to them and raise with an idea on a napkin. That is not true. I have approached so many investors who are pre-seed funds. We have a great team. We have an MVP. We have a pilots with the big companies. We have all these cool partnerships, and so many pre-seed funds. They, apart from ignoring me, some of them actually replied to me and they said that I was too early for pre-seed. How? I don't know. But the point is, if you don't have any traction, or if you don't have it like a working, or at least somehow working product, or any clients, or at least, or anything that investors can't say, all right, you know what, this is gonna be a unicorn in a couple of years. I know it. No matter how early they say, if they say their first check funds or whatever, it's all a bunch of bullshit. They will look at your clients, they will look at your products, and then they're gonna invest. No matter how early they say they are, they're founders first. They invest in teams. Most of the time, it's a bunch of bullshit. Now to investors, and I've talked to a lot of them, and even the pre-seed funds, they tell me that I'm too early. So if you hear that you are too early for pre-seed or seed fund, first of all, they're probably a bad investor because they expect from you on the pre-seed or seed stage to have already clients, and that's why we have a pre-seeded seed stage, because that means you still don't have clients. You still are in the waters of exploring product market fit. So A, they are bad investors. B, you actually need to have traction, and no one invests in ideas because ideas are worthless. Right. Second thing is like the biggest things that comes from like the earlier startup days, uh, is you have to sell first and build later. Bunch of bullshit. Probably the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard. I have tested all of it. Now look at this. Look at this scenario. So you have a product. You don't have a product. That's the thing. And you are a young founder. You have a cool startup. You have a cool idea, and you're selling like B2B software or B2B AI software. Well, like my case, I'm selling enterprise AI software for exposing fake news to media companies. So now, the idea of selling first and build first already doesn't work in the B2B field, because if it's a reputable big company, first of all, they're gonna want to test your product on their own, and they're gonna do their own research and they're gonna test it. They're probably gonna have a period of piloting. So they're gonna, even if they sign a contract with lawyers and test your product to make sure that it doesn't steal your data or anything, they will still have a period of piloting. So the idea of sell first, bill later, it doesn't work. In my case, it doesn't work. All the media companies I'm working with, they want to try it, and that's a sensible thing to do. Like no one's gonna pay you $5 million a year for the software and buying it in blind, right? So that's why you already have to have some kind of product to show. You already have to have something built so they can test it, demo it, or actually start using it right away to see that actually brings them value. Now, in terms of B2C, where you have like a wait list of people, now I like personally, I have tried both models. We were doing AI assistants before that. We've tried with B2C. Also, the idea of sell first and build later doesn't work unless it's some kind of an iPhone that you can buy on a pre-order. Then yeah, it works. But if it's some kind of software that from a startup I've never heard of, from a bunch of kids doing this, and they have like a link to Stripe account where I can send money, and then in a couple months they'll send me the link to the product, I'm not gonna buy it personally. And I cannot imagine who is gonna buy it unless they actually do their research also, and they're really passionate about this idea, or there's like some kind of investors they want to try it. So I still don't like. I personally believe that sell first, build later thing, it doesn't work. It's a fiction. Now move on. Build the product first. Make sure it works. Have conversations with clients. Then sell it to clients. Let them try it, and they will buy it. The third thing is actually kind of more of a opinion that you can totally build a big software AI unicorn outside of Silicon Valley. I actually remember I was in Switzerland, and there was a guy who's like 70-year-old retired, uh, like an executive, and he in his German asked me like, Why are you here in Switzerland, not in Silicon Valley? His son in Silicon Valley building like his company, he's making a lot of money. Why are you here in Switzerland? I'm like, I don't know. I'm building my startup. Where else am I supposed to build, right? And that's just one example that actually, like the Europe and Silicon Valley are very different things. The whole startup culture was born in Silicon Valley, and all the unicorns come from Silicon Valley or come from somewhere in the United States. And if you just look at the statistics, you will see that there are more unicorns coming from the United States than from Europe. And Europe is just trying to replicate it, trying to push their programs, trying to push their grants, but it just doesn't work. The end investors are just way more conservative, and it's way harder to work with them. And if the investors are not like full on board with startups and actually supportive, and they don't create the supportive ecosystem in Europe, at least not the one that I've seen here. And that way it becomes actually harder to build a startup in Europe. And it's easier, it's way, like you ask entrepreneurs from Silicon Valley, they will tell you that it's easier to build there. You have better access to funds. If you have your startup in Europe and you move it to America or Silicon Valley, first of all, the valuation immediately 5x. If it's like a test, I talk about tech startups. I don't know about other businesses, or at least in terms of software and AI, it works. And whether you should build it outside of Silicon Valley or in Silicon Valley, it's up to you. I personally prefer to build it in Silicon Valley, so that's why we're moving our startup. Now, another big thing I'm going to talk about is cold emails. Cold emailing to clients, cold emailing to investors doesn't fucking work. Like it just doesn't. For the last 6 months, I've been sending cold emails to thousands of investors, especially around the world, not just like in America, not just around Europe, everywhere, to China, Tokyo, like Australia, everywhere. Every single I'm in the spam folder of every single investor around the world. It's not just that cold emails don't work because well, first of all, if you're emailing to investors, you're among the thousand of emails that they get per week, because it's actually how venture capital world works is that it's all done through warm intros. If you look at the websites of the biggest investors, they don't even have the contact us page. They don't have any emails because they want you to find the intro to them. And it's so much easier for them to work with the network. And it's better. It's going to be faster. And I've been cold emailing for 6 months and it's super hard. Uh, I had some success with cold emails and it got me some meetings, but it's like 0.00001% chance, and it's very hard. It's way easier to do with warm intros. Now, in terms of clients, you can send hundreds of emails per day. First of all, you're gonna screw up your email and your domain of your company, but forget about that. My clients are large media companies, like very large. Like you watch their news, you know those companies. And how the hell am I, 22-year-old, like first-time founder, supposed to get in the room with executives of those large companies, right? Like BBC or New York Times. It's gonna be pretty damn hard with cold emails. Now, I have a friend who was actually boss in the media industry, and like we're good friends. He said that he was like working in the media industry for many decades, and he said he could help me with contacts. So I'm asking him, and he gave me a bunch of names, and I had 100% conversion. Like with the vice presidents of very large media companies, I immediately had meetings. They're already like, oh, you know the guy? Yeah, let's definitely have a meeting. So it's way easier. They interacted with me way better, and they actually asked me questions like, how did I meet him? And we built connection a lot faster, and the things moved a lot faster. So not that I send a cold email, I wait for a month, then I send a follow-up email, then I have a meeting, then I send about another bunch of cold emails. Instead, I mentioned my friend's name, we have a meeting, we have a bunch of follow-ups, then we have another meeting next week, and it's just way faster, way better. The fifth thing I'm gonna touch on is incubators and accelerators. Um, Okay, there are a lot of good accelerators that actually help you. Like the accelerator I participated in, which was InnoCube Switzerland, that was actually a cool accelerator. They did one thing right that was like very important. So they found a bunch of startups and they put them on the mountain, right? They put us on the mountain for like 2 weeks. We were in the mountains and we were having lectures there. They were driving mentors from the base of the mountain to the top every day, and the lectures were very great. That was all good, but the network was great, right? We actually became very good friends by the end of the program because we were living in the same house, eating the same food, and talking to each other, like working working on our startups and learning from mentors from morning till late evening, right? So that was great. Then we were like, then for another month we went back to our home countries. Then we were working from there, and then for another 2 weeks we went to. We were living in the military barracks in the same place, and that's why we kind of bonded. And we actually by the end of the accelerator program became good friends, and that was actually a very good boost for my personal network. And also when you're already on a kind of like on a higher level, right? When you're not already like pre-seed, when you're already on a higher level in terms of startup journey, it doesn't make sense for you to get 100,000 and give away like a 5% of non-dilutive equity. So that's one thing to think about. Another thing about if the accelerator is like 6 months long, like, do you really need to spend the time? Is it really gonna help you? Because look, accelerators are pretty cool. They give you a bunch of cool information. That's all nice. Uh, but is it really worth it? Do you really need it? Because at the end of the day, all you need is a good product, a good team, and clients that pay for your product. Incubators, hell, don't go to any incubators unless it's YC. I've been rejected from YC like 3 times, and I will be trying more. But unless it's YC, no, don't bother with these incubators. I studied in the Aalto University, and they have like the business incubator where you pay 200 euros per month, and they give you like an office space and like mentorship. First of all, if you're a startup and you have the money to pay for office space or like monthly subscription, sure, you can do that. But if you're like a startup and you're in the middle of fundraising, don't do that. Don't pay for any incubators. First of all, yeah, don't pay for any incubators or any accelerators. So we were paying like it was like for 1 year, and we had to pay like 200 years, and never not very flexible on payments, even though like we're startups, right? So long story short, they said we couldn't pay a few bills. They sent it to collection office, and we basically were almost sued and went bankrupt. But I mean, we're thinking about closing our Finnish entity, but yeah, we figured it out. We got a round coming in, so we paid off the debt. But it's definitely not worth it. First of all, yeah, it was actually kind of ironic. The startup almost died because of an incubator. So much for your fucking incubation. So definitely stay away from those incubators. It just doesn't help. Like, all you need is a good network and product. And honestly, those incubators don't help you with shit. If you don't have your own personal network, you can reach out to. Okay, you can rely on some cold emails, right? You can reach out to, or you can use the LinkedIn, and actually, cold emails can work out sometimes like in a very magical way. So 1 in 1,000 emails can land like to a very good person. But other than that, no, it's not worth it. And the final thing I want to talk about is age. Age doesn't matter. Now, I'm a 22-year-old first time startup founder, and sometimes but on the camera I look like I'm freaking 14 years old. So naturally, when I'm on the meetings with executives from large companies, they ask me how old I am. Sometimes they chuckle, sometimes they smile, but in any ways, I don't like where this is going. When you're a young startup founder, your eyes are sparkling, and they put money in you. And if you're just a bunch of kids in a startup, first of all, investors want you to have at least someone who is experienced in doing something, and or you need to have some advisors from the industry you're working in. So in our case, we have both. We have advisors from media industry who help us with the journalists and large media companies, and we have our CMO who has a decade of experience from Google and YouTube and Uber. Because I personally don't have any experience with media industry. My CTO doesn't have any experience with media industry, but we have some advisors. So you still have to have adults on your team. And actually, another story about why age does matter. So my friend, actually, the story comes from my CMO. She told me that she has a friend who was practicing law, and he's like 24 years old. He couldn't get any deals or any clients, so he hired someone who just looks older with a beard and like with a suit and a suitcase. And he was bringing him to meetings, and not only he got like a lot of clients, he also got paid more. So take out of that story what you will, but age still does matter. Like in that case, like people are still biased. We cannot help that. It's in our human nature. So if you look young, some investor who is like has decades of experience gonna probably look skeptical on you. Like, can you actually do that? And well, if you think about it, kind of makes sense. And yeah, that's just it is what it is. Hope if you take my opinion in and of course think about it for yourself, and I hope it really saves you some time with building your startup.